This episode of Drop the Check is brought to you by Pearson Meyer Wines. Pearson Meyer, a very, very, very good wine. And that was productive.
Okay, I had to pee. I got my topo, but
that was productive. While you're gone, I just did 2 Pearson Meyer ads.
I like it.
It was amazing.
Okay, I mean, I'm going with my my harvest look, man. I know I'm dirty. I'm unshaven.
It's a funny thing. I mean, do you have there different looks because a winemaker such as yourself, you have wine tastings and there's a certain look that you go for, right? For wine tastings, but right now you got harvest. Is there? Oh, here we go. This is the good to launch into.
Yeah.
What is? I know maybe styles change, but like the predominant style.
Oh, God. Yeah.
The predominant style.
Yeah.
Of harvest style.
Yeah.
Maybe this season. Maybe it's like fashion. It changes. I don't know. Now I'll just let you go. What is it?
Are you talking about me personally or like the winemaker style?
Well, we could go both of those. There's like, say the kind of like, what would be if you were to stereotype the harvest style across, what would that be?
Well, it's quite awful, actually.
Okay.
And it's not necessarily harvest style, although it can be, which harvest style is basically dirty and sometimes the same pants you've worn for a couple of days in a row, the same jeans, lots of wet shoes.
Okay.
And I've served my time in the trenches, and admittedly, I don't do as much as like my wonderful cellar crew does in terms of really getting down in it when you're it's a sea of grapes and it's sticky and nasty. We use lots of water and you're cleaning out tanks, and the real workers, they have their boots. Sometimes, they choose to use, we provide like the rubber boots, kind of like the gardening boots, you might be used to, whatever. And those are nice. But a lot of times people use protective steel-toed leather boots.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? They get wet. Yeah. They get full of grape juice.
Yeah.
And they get hot.
They're hot.
And guess what? They start to ferment.
Oh, my God.
And
the smell of that.
The smell is between terrible.
Foot body odor and fermented in your shoe. Wouldn't that like you create like, the whole foot rot and trench rot out of that?
Jungle rot was a thing that was in Vietnam, and it's the real deal. Winton, my son, was just talking to me as he's doing his ROTC training and running through the creeks at 5 o'clock in the morning in Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah.
But it's a real deal, and it's the hard work that people don't realize, this romanticism of making wine. And no, I mean, it's very difficult. And, it'd be nice if you could have, 2 pair of boots and dry one out every other day. And it'd be nice if you had time in your day to go do all your laundry and make a nice, well, we don't have that time. People are working crazy hours, getting up really, really early. And it's actually kind of a badge of honor.
Absolutely. Right.
But health is important, and I don't like it when the guys I don't want people to feel uncomfortable, right? Because you're not going to work as well if you're uncomfortable. So it's a real thing, though. I mean, again, it's kind of this badge of honor. When I was 30 years old and doing it, it's like, hey, this is kind of like between you and me. This is kind of cool. Yeah. And now at 53, it's like, no, man, that's not cool. I want everyone to be comfortable and happy and well rested and well fed, and that's how we perform better. But hey, you got to do what you got to do. It's crunch time, and we can only control so much. So
absolutely. Well, there's a funny thing at a certain age when you are part of a group, right? You mentioned your son Winton, who is an ROTC. I would suspect he falls into this category. Every one of these kids that go off to college right now that just joined their fraternity,
Yeah.
that they have like, I don't know what Winton's would be for ROTC, but for
But
me, and
he did fraternity as well.
okay, the fraternity thing where you have like a pledge book. I'll give my
Yeah.
example of
Yeah.
pledge book.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so douchey now
Yeah.
looking back on it. That
Oh, it's
I go
horrible.
off from high school to college. I'm a pledge. I'm a grunt. You could even describe this from where you are as a winemaker. And there's people that are working the fields that are, you know, maybe some kind of ubiquitous look that they have for comfort in what they're working. That becomes the fashion because of the work. But back to me, I have a pledge book. I'm a pledge. And it's the letters of my fraternity have to be on the book and sticking out of my back pocket. Those were the
Told
rules.
me this, yes.
All right. So think about, so when I
Uh-huh.
come back to my own town and my high school, I'm wearing that to show off, right?
So
My
bad.
pledge book. So maybe there's a same thing. So to that
Yeah.
note,
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
in town, you're in Napa,
Yeah.
you're in Napa, you
Yeah.
just, can you pick out,
Yeah.
just like Mikey
100%.
pledge guy, you go, those 4 people right there. Yeah. They're not on my, so I don't, my face, I don't know
Yeah.
who they are, but they're working in the wine business in the field.
1,000%. And again,
Okay.
you wear it as a badge of honor. You know, you go to the grocery store, Safeway out here, Kroger
Yes.
back there in Atlanta. But
Right.
you know, you go to the grocery store and you have red wine stains all over your shirt, and you know, people kind of like wear it proudly, right? You
Yeah.
know,
Oh, hell
it's
yeah.
like hell yeah,
Oh
been
yeah, they
working,
do.
you know,
Hell yeah, I'm working
and
out
you
here.
feel good about it. So that part is cool. I really like that. But you know, you go back to asking the question about like what is the style
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
the thing, and there are so many winemakers who do this. I mean, dear friends of mine, people who've been on the show and
Mm-hmm.
won,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe we've even talked about this on the show. I don't know. The shoe of choice is the Blundstone. You
Yeah.
know,
Okay.
Blundstones, the leather shoes.
Yeah.
They're either Australian or New Zealand, but Blundstone leather shoes. You know, they're the little slip-on boot,
Yeah.
and
Well, let me tell you,
I
you know where I
think,
know them from? I know them from going out there with you and like, oh
yeah,
yeah, there are all these people wearing these shoes.
and then they'll wear, you know, your jeans, a plaid shirt, and then a vest. What's it called? Not flannel, but you know, like Patagonia makes those little things. What are
Yes.
they called? What's that? Like
No, I know what you're
chinchilla.
talking
You know what
about.
I'm talking about.
Yes.
And you know, maybe a hat, which I get.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're out in the field and stuff. You know, you need a hat. That's fine, but
Hey, is
it's
there
so corny to me.
particular type of hat? Is there like,
Oh, well,
oh,
the most pretentious ones, it's like, you know, this, you know, some viticulturalist who spends half of his time in the truck and indoors and's got some big, wide brim, kind of
yeah,
strawish hat. And
yeah,
it's totally done for pretentiousness and
sure.
attention. And it just drives me freaking nuts, you know? And like, you know, you can see I have on this white shirt that I wore all day, and I intentionally wear it because it's like, oh, you know, you're gonna get that shirt dirty. And
Yeah.
it's like,
He's
whatever, you
crazy.
know. It's like I'm
Yeah.
not going to be the shirt that you have on, your plaid blue shirt. That's what
Uh,
the winemaker's supposed to
yeah.
wear.
See,
And it's
I'm
like, you know,
more, I'm the
whatever.
grunt, bro. I'm the grunt. You see, you're the admiral. Maybe there's
No.
like tiers of like, just like the hats. Is there a particular hat that where you go, oh, that he's the captain, he's
Yeah.
the cat, he's the winemaker.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. The people who wear the hats that's supposed to be like signify whoever they are. They're, you know, I happen to be wearing a Colorado Buffs hat here
Yeah.
because that's the hat that I just bought in Boulder, and it keeps the sun off of my face. Fine,
Yeah.
but and what are my vineyard shoes? Chuck Taylor's.
Okay, great. Oh
I've
yeah.
got on New Balance today. You know why? Because
Yeah.
they're comfortable, and I walk around. I don't care if they get dirty. I'll throw them in the wash. You know, I don't need Blundstones that cost, you know, $200 or what. Yeah, that's so corny. I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
Does that make
Oh,
sense? I mean, I don't know.
that
I'm
that
kind of like
makes
rebelling against the
see,
institution.
I could feel that. I was like, I feel the tension of it. I was about to duck away for a second, go pour my own glass of wine or pour it out one. Yeah, here's back on to that fashion for
Yeah.
just a minute longer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that, do you think, across all wine, or we're talking about California wine, or
No.
even to like that we say fashions, across, this is a New York fashion, or fashion week in Milan, but
Yeah.
across, how does it work out?
No, it's across everywhere. And like,
Everywhere.
again, like, just if you just use the Blundstones, of course, like, what's really super cool actually is that we are multinational, industry.
Yeah.
And, people that you have Americans going over to work in New Zealand, you have, Kiwis coming over here to work, you have, the French and Italians and everyone else. And we're going all over the world
Hmm.
working and doing internships and residencies and things like that. And so that it basically boils down to they all kind of like wear the same thing.
Yeah.
That being said, it's still funny. Like I can almost identify a French winemaker
Yeah.
versus a
He's wearing the
Kiwi.
scarf. He
Yeah.
wears a
No,
scarf.
I'm not going to mention names, but I do have a friend. He doesn't do it anymore. This goes back to the 90s, but he's a brilliant winemaker. He's an American. He's from California, from the
Yeah.
Napa Valley, and he would wear a kerchief around his neck.
Okay.
And it was totally does it keep you cool? Sure, I
Maybe.
get it. I'm
Yeah.
not, cute, but it was doing it for effect, for a fashion statement.
Okay.
And
That's
that's
what
what I
I'm gonna do.
rebel against. Yeah.
Okay, you rebel against it. I'm gonna lean into it. When I come out there to hang with you, I'm never gonna say what I do, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna hang because I'm gonna be tagging along with you. I'm gonna take like half of the fashion notes that they do out there, and
Yeah.
I'm just gonna throw some weird stuff. Like I'm gonna wear an ascot and
Yes.
some of those boots and something, and I'm just gonna
Yeah.
hang with you, just to really confuse people. So they're like,
And yeah.
"What is he doing here?"
Yeah, for sure. They'll think, oh, he must be a winemaker
Yeah,
because he's
maybe.
wearing an ascot and Blundstones.
Exactly. Might be
Like part
French.
of rebelling against that, which I thought was a fantastic idea. And actually, they do this. And I was at um, a famous winery in France, and they almost have uniforms. The cellar workers do. But our friend of the show, Matthew Rorick, who has
Yes.
been on
Hmm.
when we worked together back in the day, we intentionally bought jumpsuits, coveralls.
Okay.
That's what you should wear, right? You wear
Exactly.
that to, it's like we're not being pretentious or whatever. And we did it actually with intention to be funny, but it's like that's what you should be wearing if you want to protect
Absolutely.
your clothes and whatever. That's a sensible thing to wear. So anyway, it goes
Let
all
it
over the place, but
well, let it be known, I just was gifted a brand new pair of coveralls.
they're the best.
Of coveralls by another podcaster, our friend Charles W. Chuck Bryant.
From his podcast is called Stuff You Should
Stuff
Know.
you should know. He presented me with a pair of coveralls, which at some point in time, just like you said, many, many years ago, I had bought some coveralls for a similar thing, not probably as functional as you and
Yeah.
Matt Rorick, that
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be funny, but actually it is somewhat functional the way that you are wearing. I bought coveralls for some stupid event or something that I was doing, but similar to you guys, once I put them on, I was like, man, these things are great. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm kind of
They're
loose and other than
great.
great. I can work, don't care. It's like there's a feeling of like what you said when you're wearing stuff and it's functional, or you're doing so and so, and you can move and do your stuff better. I'm like, this is amazing. I was making fun of this thing. It's actually great. Okay, time goes fast. You get rid of it. You don't think about it anymore. Anyway, was just gifted it for probably similar stupid reasons. And once again, it's come around. I put my coveralls on and I go, we're back.
Why did he have the coveralls? Or this is a new pair or a pair that
This
he
is a
had worn?
brand new pair of
Oh,
coveralls
okay.
he got for he and I. For some reason,
Uh,
I don't know if it's a
Working
work
up
at
at
his
the
campsite or
farm
whatever,
campsite, yeah.
which is let's talk about this. What's going on in current events right now for where you are? You're in Napa right now.
I am, but can I make one more coverall statement before we
Please
move
do.
on?
Please do.
Because the best pair of coveralls that I've ever seen that I would pay high dollar for
Yeah.
is a guest that we need to have on the show. My friend, the artist Stan Mullins.
Okay.
in Athens, Georgia. You know, he does all the sculpture for the Martin Luther King family,
Yeah.
Jimmy Carter, University
Right.
of Georgia. I mean, he's amazing, and he's a childhood friend and neighbor. And you go to his studio, and Stan, you talk about working. You know, he's doing his sculpture. He's chiseling. He's working with clay. He's, you know, just he's in it with, of course, paint everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And he has this pair of coveralls that almost every time I see him, he's wearing the coveralls, and they are so cool because they have all of his artistic work spread
Completely.
all over him.
Completely.
I would pay more for that. I mean, his artwork is genius. I could never afford his artwork, but I would pay more for the coveralls than I would
Yeah.
for his artwork because it's so cool. It's so
I mean,
worn in, and yeah,
I'm so down with that and that style anymore, Bob, like with Stan or okay, you heard the stories of like, oh, Albert Einstein had, 2, 3 of the same
yeah,
suit that he had in
yeah,
his thing all the time to just
yeah,
like think on a level of not I'm not even going to use any of my brain capacity to
yeah.
think about that. I have found I'm just assuming right now the outfit that I that like the coveralls or like your outfit in the field or whatever we're talking about, or perhaps this flannel shirt that I have on. I put this on because it's very comfortable and I don't give a shit. You could do that. I'm so down anymore as in my older age to having the outfit, whatever that is, that you really don't even have to think about it, you know? And
And that
so
you
for your
perform,
friend
and
Stan,
that you perform well in.
exactly.
I mean, you
Exactly.
know, I might look sharp and dashing wearing you know, with three-piece suit out into the
Yeah.
vineyard, but you couldn't work. It's not practical, or whatever. And it almost goes back to what I was saying about this like faux fashion of, oh, you wear this jacket and these shoes, whatever. I don't feel comfortable in that. I want to feel comfortable so I can just concentrate on doing my work. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I
Okay,
do.
so sorry for that diatribe, but you asked what's going on. We're here in Napa Valley. That's where I
You're in
am, you
Napa.
know, at the moment. It is 5:35 p.m. here. I want to thank you for motivating me and
Mhm.
us to get another podcast back on the air. I mean, we've been, you know, grinding, but you know, life gets busy, you
It's
know, whether
harvest,
it's
man.
kids or work or harvest. And
It's harvest.
so, you know, I did my daily and rushed home so we could do this. So thank you for that inspiration. But yeah, we're right in the middle of the thick of things, and
Thick of things.
the thick of things. And so I don't know what that means. You guide me through it because I want to hear it, or I want to explain it to you,
Yeah.
not being in this industry. Maybe we've talked about it more on the show, but you know, it's like, what's going on here right now? What
I-
is the harvest update? And
well, then
you know,
there's the question. There is the question. What is going on? This is harvest right now
yeah,
for
2024.
2024 harvest. What does that mean? What goes on? What's happening right now?
So first, you know, I wanted to clarify that it's 2024, and
Yes.
I you know, learn this every single year. This is somewhere around my you know, 25th harvest or something,
Hmm.
and I feel like I have a lot of great experience. But every single harvest is different and unique, and you
Okay.
learn something. Hopefully, if you're
Hmm.
aware, you learn something new every year,
Hmm.
and it's really cool. It's a cool life experience to be able to judge, not judge, but evaluate, take note of every single year because you're watching the weather so much. You know, you're
Hmm.
seeing how things respond. So where are we at? It happens to be September 26th right now.
Hmm.
I would consider this to be so far an earlier vintage. What does that mean? When did we start harvesting grapes? Around
Hmm.
Labor Day, and we got our first grapes in. We were laughing today at the winery that last year in 2023, we harvested a few grapes a little bit earlier in September, but really we didn't get going in earnest until like October 3rd.
Okay.
And I'm probably 75% harvested right now on September 26th. 3 weeks ahead of last year. Maybe
Yeah.
3 weeks doesn't seem like a lot to, the average dude, but when you're farming, 3 weeks seems like an eternity. We're talking about the
Sure.
change of the amount of hours in a day, how
Hmm.
warm it is, what's going on. And it's really cool, the experience. I also do things like this. I was driving up the valley this morning, and we can see out in the vineyards that I can see some yellowing of the canopy
Yeah.
being the leaves of the grapevines.
Okay.
They're very rich and green and healthy vineyards, all through the growing season. But as they turn to shut down and go into dormancy, they start to turn yellow. And there's definitely a huge change to the color of the leaves. Now, when I'm driving up valley, I'm not looking at my calendar going at September 26th. But if told me you're riding on the car with me and said, what day is it right now?
Yeah.
I would
Okay.
say October 10th.
Right.
Maybe three
Just.
weeks doesn't sound like a big deal to you, but like in our world, like I'm so attuned to the light, the
Hmm.
sunlight, the direction of everything, how the plants look at large, not just my vineyards, but everything.
Hmm.
You're into all these signals about what's going on around the valley and here in Napa or any other region. So it's really cool. It's a fun experience to go through that. So
Okay. So
yeah.
here's a question to that. Do you feel this is an anomaly? And which, by the
Oh,
way,
good question.
hang on, an anomaly or just a global climate change thing? Because I can say I'm in Atlanta right now and we're talking
Oh
about
yeah.
this. And
Yeah.
right now we have today, like outside right now, my window, it is pouring rain. Why? Because Hurricane Helene, not to be confused with Saint Helena in
Correct.
our where you are right now, close by, right? That we have a hurricane that supposedly could potentially, all the way where I am, be still a Category 2 hurricane, which is in fact, this may be the strongest hurricane on record to
Mhm.
hit us where we are right now. This is an anomaly. So back to you, that you
Okay.
said you look out the window and you see those leaves, and let's say you are living in a vacuum, and you
Yeah.
go, someone says, hey man, I know,
What day is it?
you've been blacked out here for a
Yeah.
long time, you don't have a calendar, what day is it? You say that, do you feel that you may be experiences this again and again, or you just feel that, I mean, or could you even know?
Well, okay. So, number one, climate change is real, and
Hmm.
things, have changed on average for the past, well, for me in farming for the past 25 plus years or whatever, but across the world, of course. But um, just like you were saying, this hurricane is like the furthest inland that you can remember. That I remember coming back to Atlanta when I moved back from Colorado in like '94. We had some huge snowstorm like in March in Atlanta, like
Hmm.
multiple feet. It never
Yeah.
happened before.
Yeah.
Whatever the case may be. I remember when I was a little kid in Atlanta, we had some heat spike that was like 106
Sure.
degrees, whatever,
Right.
crazy. So going back to the wine industry, what I hate, I might have, like I said, 25 plus vintages under my belt. Every single year, the
Hmm.
same comment is made. Well, this is a weird vintage. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, it's not. They're just different.
Sure. Okay.
Yes. And I'm not, of course, like I said, I'm a very big recognizer of climate change, but I don't mean that. It just means
Yeah.
that everything is different every year. And
Yeah.
that's where we shine, hopefully, as professionals of farming
Mm.
and winemaking, that we're able to be nimble and to understand whatever the changes are
Yeah.
and make whatever adjustments are to do that.
Sure.
So, like, let me give you an example. It's like we had, earlier, like I said, we have harvested maybe 75% of our grapes so far. Um, we know what to do.
Hmm.
Say you have a great professional who knows, like, tasted the grapes, knows when to pick, know what they want to do. They have their style put together. They're going to do this, that, and the other. Well, great. but you also have to have execution.
Mhm.
And you can, I'm not the most brilliant winemaker of all time, but
I don't know.
how
I'm
can
not
you
sure about that.
execute? How can you execute? And someone might have my same ideals. What we do well is we have an amazing team, both in the vineyard
Mhm.
and in the winery, that when
Mhm.
we need to execute something,
Mhm.
we can get that done quickly and immediately. How is that done? Through preparation, through experience, sure, but
Mhm.
through planning and through how we prepare. There's a way that we can process our fruit at the winery. Say I go, hey, there's 30 tons of grapes out there that need to be processed at the highest level. Well, 20 years ago, I might be able to process like 6 tons a day. I couldn't get it through the system. Well, through our
Mhm.
innovation and through
Sure.
the equipment that we have,
Uh-huh.
through our level of commitment, not without cost,
Yeah.
but we're able. Now I can go, guess what? Tomorrow I need to get in 30 tons and I'm going to process it here at the other day we did it, our little, we're small, right?
Yeah.
55 tons. That number might not mean anything to you.
Mhm.
In 1999 at Peter Michael, processing, 10, 15 tons would be huge.
Sure.
And now I can do 55 tons at a better, higher quality level.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so it's like through our equipment, it's like,
Mm.
there's a piece of equipment, a sorting machine that I
Mhm.
absolutely love. It's produced by this company called Wico,
Okay.
and it basically sorts our berries for us. Every individual berry that goes across the table goes through this optical sorter. There's pictures that are taken of each individual grape, and there are
Hang
air
on, time out.
jets. Yeah, tell me.
Each individual grape.
Yeah,
By the way, let me
there.
pause. Did you hear that, Wico? Did you hear the amazing work that you do? And nice plug, Wico.
Yeah, no,
Um,
that's a
each
big plug for Rico.
each hang on, let's hold that for a second because I'm trying to wrap my head around
Yeah,
this. And I did see this. I saw
yeah,
last
you
year what you're
saw it. You
talking
got
about.
to
I
see it.
saw, hang on, the grapes. So someone that is listening to this can visualize this conveyor belt is laid out here, and these grapes that have been picked, they almost in my mind, for someone that is like me that knows very little about this, like there's a look of these grapes that could look very similar to some fashion just by structure of like
Mhm.
the grapes that you get in grocery
Mhm.
store because they're on the vine and you see all the fruit, the grapes are on there, are coming down this conveyor belt, correct? That
Yeah,
are just rolling through this conveyor belt. You're saying that this machine now is snapping a photograph. Hang on, pause that you said
yeah,
every grape.
yeah. And so that this is a good point, and thank you again for slowing me down and helping people understand. I do this every day, and I forget what people don't really perceive. So, say you're out in the vineyard, and we have a beautiful cluster of grapes,
Sure.
and that whole cluster looks wonderful. Well, we pick the we have a machine that does it, a destemmer that
Okay.
takes the individual grapes off of the stem,
Hmm.
and so the only thing going across that conveyor belt that you mentioned is just the individual grapes.
Okay.
Well, if you have 100 berries on a cluster,
Yeah.
sure, there's 90 of them are wonderful, but you
Yeah.
have buried in there a little green berry or a little
Okay.
pink berry,
And
or you
that,
have a
hang on, that
raisin.
one little, okay, a raisin, that little
Yeah,
one green, that detail, you're saying that that
detail.
detail, oh, hang on, I didn't find out. Okay, so they do that, and then what? Bad guys. As someone jumps out, somebody jumps out, a small dude jumps out of a little box and said, "There's a bad one over." What happens? What happens to these little raisin
Yeah,
grape green
so
ones?
so the grapes are going across the thing, and you say like a few percentage points, but like if I said 10%, 5%, even 3%, do
Okay.
you think that makes a difference in wine quality? Again, when you're
Mm,
trying to get to the highest level,
mm,
that 3% is a sea change,
yeah.
and so having the ability to, we used to back in the day try to get people and have 10 people
Mm,
around a table by
yeah.
hand, quickly trying to look for every bad berry. And
Okay.
that's why it would take me,
Jesus.
10 hours to do 6 tons of grapes. Now we have, the conveyor goes along, you have the optical sorter. Yes, every berry moving at a very rapid pace passes across the belt with a camera. It's
Yeah.
actually a series. I think it's 5 cameras that are taking pictures of the grapes. And
Mhm.
I mean, within a millisecond, it
Mm.
identifies them. And I can program in to say, I want any berry of this color, like it's
Yeah.
too pink,
Yeah.
eject it. I
Okay,
want
hit
anything. Yeah.
ejection. What
Mhm.
how does that process? Because you just
We
gave
gotta post this on the website or something so people
the
can see the video.
this is kind of amazing, Bob, that even in not a long time that you just said
Yeah.
with technology, you
Yeah.
said you had people, by the way, that were spotting this. By God, think about the those were the type of people that if you're the child of that person, you can't
Oh
get
yeah.
away with anything. They're
Yeah.
spotting you grabbing the cookie out of it because their eyes are so fast watching anything, right? You had people doing this, but now you have these cameras that are doing this. That's one thing already that the great grape technology that they can do that, which to me, I already thought was really cool because before you said the ejection part, my thought was it's just going to tell you, like you, Robbie Meyer, it's going to go beep, beep, beep. You're at 3%. Somebody needs to slow this thing down and wonder what the hell's going on with my grapes. But you're saying,
Yeah.
no, we're going further. This thing will actually eject anything that's like that. How does that
Yeah.
happen?
Yeah. Well, I mean, because I can program in how, what to identify
Okay.
within a millisecond. The grapes fall across this like a cascade. Think of a waterfall, and they
Okay.
fall across the grape. Excuse me. The camera through the
Hmm.
computer will identify by position where the
Hmm.
grapes are falling across this cascade, this waterfall, and it'll shoot an air jet that
My
will
God.
knock the grape, or it could be a leaf, it could be a stem, it could be a seed, it could be whatever, and it will eject it
This
from
is
the system. It'll
unbelievable.
knock it out and it'll push it over to the waste pile. And all you get coming out the backside is perfect, beautiful, perfect berries.
This is
It's
unbelievable.
really unbelievable.
Oh,
And
this is
the
crazy.
the technology has been around for a while, but there's
Yeah.
been, and there are various machines that do this pretty well. For
Hmm.
a long time, I was reluctant to buy one of these machines because I don't think they did a great job.
Yeah.
But the ones that we have now, and we have multiple that we have, but I've worked with them at other wineries. But now this Wico one is phenomenal. I mean, I
So,
couldn't give it higher praise.
so as if they could get a better plug than this already,
Yeah.
the Wiko machine that you're talking about not only is the camera, but is also the whole ejection process too.
Oh yeah, it's a whole. It's the optical sorter. It's that blue conveyor belt. It's like a
Yeah.
blue
Yeah.
screen. You're in
My God.
film production. It's like
Yeah.
the conveyor belt itself is blue. It's just like a
Hmm.
green screen or whatever, so that the cameras can identify nicely what's going on. Um, no, it's a cool piece of technology, but yeah, that is a good plug for them. I think they should sponsor our show.
Please, come on. I mean, look what we just did for you. Here's the thing, though, that you gotta hope you gotta slow Wego down because I would be concerned, Bob, with how amazing on my mind is kind of blown on what this does. That the next phase for WeGo is if they can do that, wouldn't you think that the whole AI computer
Oh yeah,
of like, you see what is happening with me in video, like why, I my deal
mm,
was like going from bigger to small scale production because of
yeah,
technology. And then
yeah,
people like, why the hell we need this guy anymore? We'll just have
yeah,
some kid that just got out of SCAD, that's 22 years old just to do that because all of this, they'll write the copy and blah, blah, blah. Okay. You see where I'm going with that? What's
yeah,
the next level that they go? We know a certain level of chemistry
hmm,
of wine
yeah,
too, that we go,
yeah,
we just downloaded Robbie Meyer's brain
yeah.
and say, hey, thanks, pal. Thanks for your help here. Just go sit and do your podcast.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great point. And even as I was saying, the words is like saying, oh, I used to have 10 people around the table,
Yeah.
sorting by hand, and then now I have this machine who can do it. Well, that's unfortunate because now what do those 10 people do that used to be employed?
Truth. Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
believe me, I have plenty of human work to do around the
Yeah.
winery, so
Yeah.
I can just have those people doing more productive jobs that, physically need to be done.
Yeah.
It's not like, we let people go in the name of this machine. It's I can do
Yes.
everything more efficiently.
Yeah.
Again, instead of being able to process, 6 tons in a day, I can do 35, 55 tons in a day. It's just I can be more efficient and again, higher quality. I can have the human beings with a brain
Mm,
doing something that's more profound than picking a raisin off of a table.
right.
So there's that element to it. And then secondarily, you asked about, what's next? Just, take Robbie Meyer's brain out of it. We have such great laboratories that tell us all the chemistry of these grapes and, wine and juice. And we can do all this analysis.
Mm-hmm.
But I am here to preach to you. And I always preach this to younger people that I work with. It's like, they learn a number and they say a number. It's this pH, it's this acidity, it's this level of tannin and structure numerically. So this is the answer. If this, uh, well-received wine that was highly rated by the critics, these are the numbers on that wine. If we
Mm-hmm.
just achieve these numbers,
Yep.
we'll have the same wine.
Yes.
Not even close.
Not
Just
even
not even
close as you.
close.
Okay.
And
Why?
so
Why is that? Not
because
even close.
it's because we are human, because we're
Yeah.
not AI, because
Mm-hmm.
we have brains, because
Mm.
we experience things in a very, very different way.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
guess what else also?
Yeah.
Uh, styles change,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Art changes, fashion changes, wine changes, everything's people, evolve over time. And I don't mean just, strict evolution. I mean their mental evolution of what they like and what tastes are.
Mm-hmm.
So, you have to be in front of that. And only a human can do that.
Mm.
And, there's literally that expression, a tastemaker.
Yeah.
AI will never be a tastemaker,
Mm. Okay.
and so it does require the human thing, and with any art, with any type of creation, that's what we respond to as humans, is that level of
Mm.
connection,
Yeah.
interaction, of perception,
Mm-hmm.
um,
There's soul. I found
soul.
in my personal experience too with AI, because I have both of us in, with regard to working in both what we do in the arts, that there is some level. I just gave an example of mine. There's a I can make myself obsolete to some degree because of technology and certain things that technology and AI has done, which got me into some level of what I do, and also may somewhat push me out of it. So I play with it from time to time. That I go, damn, this thing's going to completely take everything away from me. And let's say I write a story in some type of rhyming,
Yeah.
rhythmic, my type of, let's say a Dr. Seuss like type of thing that I kind of know where it should be going. And so I play with AI just to see how insecure I should be. Right. And say, let's go ahead and see if you can wrap this up. Right. And knowing that it's not going to know, it's not going to read my mind to where it's going or whatever, just to see if the whatever it will go. And yeah, it will create, the rhythm and rhyme, but there's something lacking, similar to when you see AI visual art.
Yeah.
You can place it
Yeah.
when you go, I,
100%.
I don't even know. You might even go, I'm not even sure why, but something about that doesn't feel right to me. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe that
Yeah.
is what the soul is.
So I'll give you, this is maybe, I shouldn't say this, but it's the truth. So, um, it's often asked of us, as winemakers or whatever, we release a new wine, and,
Mm.
you have to promote things and you have to identify things. And, um, I don't like it's the case, but I get it. A lot of
Yeah,
consumers like to have a description of the wine,
sure.
right? And to me, not it's not being like arrogant or something like that. I mean, it's actually just the opposite of that. Hey, you know Pearson Meyer wines. You know you
Mhm.
like them. I'm not going to put it in the bottle if it's not great. Just enjoy it.
Yeah,
Don't overthink it.
sure.
Does it smell like white peaches to you, or does it
Yeah,
smell like yellow peaches? Does it smell like,
yeah,
et cetera, et cetera.
yeah,
So I get very frustrated with writing tasting notes for
yeah,
publications and things like that over and over and over again.
yeah,
If I have the Pearson Meyer Charles Heinz Vineyard Chardonnay,
yeah.
this is the style. I can describe it one time.
Mm,
And it's my goal and objective to make it an identification of that vineyard, of the varietal, of the appellation every single year. Of
mhm.
course, every vintage is different, just like I explained. But this is a description of what the wine is like at large.
Sure.
It's going to be slightly different every year. Just experience it for yourself. But
Yeah.
no, marketing and
God,
everyone
that's a
wants to have something different every time.
man, that's
So,
so hard, Robbie. That's a
oh,
really hard thing because I mean, I
you,
think about this almost incessantly when okay, a person's perception is reality, right? Your perception
yeah,
is reality. And so I agree with you on so many levels that for across the board, if you say, I'm going to release you out to experience something with no basis of reference,
hmm,
right?
yeah,
And what would that be? I'm trying to think about the fine example. Oh, let's just say culturally, like with foods. We
yeah,
grow up in a culture, we're exposed to food or whatever. Like we might have, let's say, a hamburger or
yeah,
fried chicken or whatever.
yeah,
And then there is a food that is accepted in a different culture, right?
yeah,
That we find gross. You're going to eat fill in the blank, a different protein that no one, oh my God, like the
yeah,
pig's foot, or even to what to again to our culture, which would be far more quote unquote gross because
yeah,
it's just not in our menu of things we socially accept. We don't have a folder to place it in our brains. We have to have some, I don't know if it's like our human structure, we have to have something to place it into. So to your point with wine, I really love it what you say. Like, but I can see from a marketing perspective how it could create a nightmare if you just
yeah.
say,
Just drink it.
just drink it.
Yeah, I don't want to describe it. I know that does sound arrogant, but um,
Mm,
like I said, well, let me just tell you about the vineyard. I'll write that down. Let me tell you
yeah.
about what the wine's vision is, the inspiration is. I can write that now. Here, I'll make you another analogy. It's
Okay.
like if we talk about the Rolling Stones and Loving Cup or whatever song it might be. I'm
Yep.
sure there is critical reviews out there about the song.
Yes.
And some of that can be interesting if you talk about like guitar composition and how it's put together. Sure, if you're into it, read it. I don't need someone else. Let me listen to it and I'll tell
Mm,
you if I like it or I don't like it. And I'll have my own visceral response to that. I
yeah.
got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, I mean, it is what it is. The proof is in the pudding.
Mm,
So, let me do that. And carrying up that analogy, as you listen to something like that, legendary over time, your own personal experiences are going to affect how you perceive that piece of artwork. Well, guess what? With wine or food, it's even more profound because it's going to depend on when you captured that glass of wine in history. Was it
mhm,
right after bottling? Was it 6 months later? Was it 2 years later? Was it after it was open for a while? What was your body chemistry like at the time? You can't have
mm.
someone else tell you that.
I
So,
bet.
you have to have that relationship with the producer, the trust factor, the personal view of exploration. I'm just going to try this wine and get my own perception. So, writing all these things out gets a little hokey to me. Let me circle back on why I brought that up because I get so tired of doing it. And someone wants something new every year.
Yeah.
I've experimented around with
Now,
taking,
hang on. When you said
yeah.
somebody wants something new every, what are you
Oh,
now
the
talking about?
marketing people
Yeah.
want new
Okay.
tasting notes for the
Ah, I gotcha.
2023 Pearson Meyer Charles Heinz Chardonnay versus the 2022 Pearson Meyer Chardonnay, right?
Okay.
in
Yeah.
my viewpoint, of course, the wines are different. I can tell them apart, but they're
Hmm.
still part of this family. They're still from this vineyard. They're still, et cetera, et cetera. Um, so I would just take my 2022 tasting notes
Hmm.
and put it through AI.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And
Okay.
then
Now, so
it's
that
really
makes
cool. I don't
sense.
know if you've
Yeah.
done this before, but I put the old tasting notes in,
Yeah.
and I just tell it, rewrite the notes. It comes up
Yeah.
with something different, and God knows where it's sourcing it's from, and
Yeah.
it's hilarious. And then I can go in and go, make it less flowery.
Oh, yeah. No,
Literally that
yeah.
it's super cool, and then they'll go back and they'll rewrite it, and then you get all these parameters through, and then it'll spit out something
Yeah.
that I then again, as a human, as someone who knows the wine,
Hmm.
will cancel out and edit and rewrite it from there.
Hmm.
So that, I think that really describes what the whole benefit and usage of AI. It never tasted the wine. It doesn't know anything.
Yeah. As
It's
far as you
not,
know. As
smart
far
about
as you
that.
know. Yeah.
All it is giving me, it's eliminating, an hour of my time
Completely.
from writing these
Yeah.
tasting notes, which are
Yeah.
pointless anyway, and allows me that free hour of time to go out into the damn vineyard and do what I'm
Yes.
supposed to be doing. And I can get these tasting notes put together that are approximately correct. That, hey, great. There's someone who wants to read that. Great. But,
Great.
they're still going to have to taste the wine, and
Gotta taste it, man.
I don't know when they're going to taste it. So those tasting notes now are obsolete anyway, because they were tasted at that time in history.
You said, well, you know what you said? You said something in there too that was really fascinating to me. I didn't contemplate this until now. Body chemistry.
Yes.
Okay. Now you're talking about, explain what you mean there. Like that person,
Okay.
are you
So,
just talking about my personal taste? What do you mean by that?
and we can tie this back in when we go back to, what are we doing right now
Yeah.
in the Napa Valley and during harvest, right? So I get
Okay.
up early in the morning, and I'll do some stuff from last night's pick, on the computer or on my cell phone, texting the crew, whatever. Then I go out, and as I drive along, I stop at the various vineyards and taste grapes.
Okay.
And invariably, the first thing that you taste during the day, your palate is, you think about, like, when you wake up in the morning, right?
Sure.
You like
Hmm.
certain things. People have certain food choices or beverage choices in the morning because you might be dehydrated.
Hmm.
There's different things with your body chemistry going on. Your internal pH balance can be different.
Yeah.
Your mouth pH balance can be different.
Okay. This is
And so
very fascinating. Okay.
yeah, and you're going to experience that in a very different way. So you have to be cognizant. Again, we talk about getting away from AI and being a human being.
Yeah.
You have to be aware of what it is that your body is physically perceiving. A
Okay.
computer could never physically perceive how something's going to taste, right?
Right.
And so we have to be aware of what our body chemistry is to taste those grapes. I go to the winery.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've been tasting sweet, sugary grapes in the morning. Now I go to the winery and I'm tasting a fermenting tank
Hmm.
that has, dissolved carbon dioxide in it. It's got, alcohol. It's got acid. It still might have sugar if it's fermenting. And this is, 7 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm tasting this.
Hmm.
You have to be aware of what your body conditions are like. If I tasted that same grape at 3 p.m. in the afternoon when it's 95 degrees out,
Yeah.
and I've had a big hearty lunch, from
Yeah.
harvest,
Yeah.
and I taste a warm grape
Yeah.
in the afternoon, that grape is going to taste different than it did to me physically than it did at 6 o'clock in the
Right.
morning when it was cold outside. And it
Okay,
will,
this is
yeah,
fantastic. So how even as the guy that's making the wine and
yeah,
selling the wine to a customer, that what you just described for yourself,
yeah,
for your own body chemistry and understanding taste throughout the day. Let's say you now are the guy that's doing beyond harvest and everything you do whatever wine events, wine tastings, right? Where you're presenting the
yeah,
wine and talking
yeah,
about these things. And this,
yeah,
you have, let's say there's 20 people in the room.
yeah,
you have yourself essentially to some degree with 20 of those on some level, because you don't necessarily know, and you're gonna maybe describe, if you're not doing what you said before, just taste it and what you like. You have no clue what their exact precise perception of this,
Hmm.
because of that chemistry.
Yeah,
Your wine will be consistent because it's coming out of the same bottle into those X number of
that's right.
glasses, right? But
That's
you
right.
don't know what their perception is. So maybe to technology, and maybe I'm making a step further before you
No.
jump into that. With technology, what you just even described with this amazing devices, do you do even foresee that maybe there be some type that can bring the human level back to a baseline? I don't know. I mean, what's your thoughts on these things?
Well, it's that's what makes it cool. Just like I said, it's all these different humans experiencing it,
Yeah,
and you don't have control. You can't mandate. I might want to be pretentious and go, this wine is good and this wine is not,
sure,
and this is what. It doesn't matter. It's whatever the human being does. It's the same with music or visual art or anything like
sure.
that. People are going
Okay.
to perceive what they're going to perceive. It's super cool and very gratifying
Hmm.
when I'm going to Chicago at the end of October and doing a wine event for I don't know, they said like 120 people,
Yeah,
and my thought of that is like, that's fantastic. I'm super excited about it and get to interact with all these people, but there'll be 120 different palettes out
right.
there,
Yeah.
and you know you can't control anything like that, and
But can you try? I mean, is there something, have you
no.
learned
Well,
something?
you
No.
you
Like
can
a
you
food to
can
say, there's a
no.
food that I'm going to create a baseline or a cracker or blah, blah, blah.
Of course. Okay. Let's go backwards too, and we've kind of, I think, mentioned this concept before on the show, that uh Coca-Cola out there is obviously a huge company with wild success,
Hmm.
and they do tremendous amount of research to find exactly what the people like,
Yeah.
and they have a formula that's
Hmm.
very precise. They try to hone that in. They can reproduce it time and time and time again, so they can sell more product and more product and more product. That's great. I mean, I salute that, and
Hmm.
that's very, very hard to do. But when you have a small wine producer, that's not what we're trying to do. What I'm
Hmm.
trying to do is show you, Mike Anderson, hey man, when I go out and I farm like this and I find this vineyard and I do this and I produce the wine in this way and I try to highlight what's going on out of that vineyard, this is what I get. This is what Robbie Meyer gets. This is what I really like. I like these wines.
Okay.
Do you like it? You
Hmm.
don't have to like it, and I have no control over that. I'm not, excuse me, I'm not producing the wine for you. And I
Hmm.
don't mean that in a rude way. I'm producing it based on what I feel, what my emotions and tastes
Hmm.
and body chemistry is like. That's what I like, what my vision is. That's what
Yes.
I like.
Mm.
And if you like it, fantastic. And that makes me feel really good when I can satisfy, that.
Then
It's this same going back to like music. There's
correct.
pop music that
Yeah.
is designed and produced very particular to create a jingle
Hmm.
which is hard to do. Again, it's like, the Taylor Swifts of the world. She's a freaking genius,
Sure.
to be able to appeal to people like that. That's really hard to do. But then you have, the Wilcos of the world, or whoever, Sturgill Simpson, who's going, this is the music that I like to create, and I hope you like it. That's awesome if you do. If you don't, I get it. It's not for everybody, but
Yeah.
it's more of an expression of who you are.
Sure. There's
I
art for yourself. You're doing something for
Yeah,
yourself that people then jump onto. But then after that happens, there's people that say, we notice that there is a market for this out there, and we want to fill the demand for that market. Those are
yeah,
those two different buckets that you're talking about there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's interesting. I mean, I I don't know. I hope I didn't go on a little diatribe there, and it's no offense to any sort of company or artistry or anything like that. It's just the way it is, and it's way off the topic of what I thought we were talking about, which was the harvest time out here. But I think it's all relevant, right?
They're all connected, my
It's
friend. They're
all
all
connected. I mean,
connected.
without those philosophies, it wouldn't. That's when I do wake up during harvest time when we go out and we're picking grape. This is all the things that are going through my head nonstop, and that's, I guess, if I circle back to like the harvest time, what we're doing out here, that's what makes it really difficult because everything else doesn't stop, but then at the same time it's go time in terms of picking grapes and logistics. And so it's like I'll try to get into my bed tonight at 9 p.m. and I'll have my phone with me, and we pick the grapes at nighttime. And so I'll be sleeping with the phone, and I'll be getting questions and harvest updates as we go through the night. So I don't really sleep. I'll sleep like an hour at a time. And then 4:30 or 5 or so rolls around, and it's like time to plan for the next night, because as soon as that crew is done picking, and the deliveries are made, they're like, so what's up for tonight? Meaning
Mm-hmm.
the next day. I'm looking down at my computer here going, okay, it's September 26th. And it's funny, you and I are doing this on a Thursday all day today. I thought it was Wednesday,
Yeah.
because I get
Weird.
backwards. I think about what I picked yesterday, what I'm picking tonight, what have I picked today, and it's just your mind swirls and swirls. So I get up in the morning again, go first thing to the vineyards. You've done this with me, Mike. Go to the
Mm-hmm.
vineyards, we taste some stuff, we decide on what our picking decisions are for the next night. Then we go to the winery, we taste all the fermentations, we see the status of 50 different tanks, and they're all at different levels, all picked on different days. When is it time to do this, that, the other? And the ticking time clock,
Mm-hmm.
it can drive you crazy. You have to have a little bit of peace. I
Mm-hmm.
try to do a good job of, once in a while, like at 1 in the afternoon or 2 in the afternoon, I just go, I know there's a trillion things to do right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to the gym.
Okay.
I'm going to go get on the bike. I'm going to go lift for a minute. I got to clear my head. You have to
Mm-hmm.
step away to clear your head out, and then you come back, and then we do more work, and it's like I said, thank you for us to do this like podcast today. This is actually therapy for me, even though we're talking about wine and winemaking harvest. It's like to step away for an hour and get out of your head.
Yes.
I'll go back. When we're done here, I'm gonna go take a shower, and then I'll get back on the computer, and I'll figure everything out. And we'll get logistics taken care of, and whatever, we move on.
So
But
here's a
yeah,
question for that has to do with, like, you just gave a few examples of, like, obviously we have harvest going on right now, which we touched on. We have all these other little things that we bounce around about, but you gave some examples how you have to find some type of momentary breaks through in each of your day
yeah,
through this crazy time that is nonstop. But if you consider harvest as if it's like film production, but it's film production going on. There's many films going on at the same time because everyone, that's the level playing field, that everyone might have different equipment, whatever, but because of the timing of the grapes and everything, everyone's in harvest right now, right?
yeah, yeah,
And we've talked about fashion on this episode, that there's a fashion, is it this standard fashion of this or that? How about this to kind of wrap us up in this for this episode of harvest, because we will revisit this one next week as well, I feel,
yeah.
is this:
Okay.
is there a, like, a harvest kind of wrap party? Is there something that people do?
Hmm.
Because I would assume if they start at the same time,
Yeah,
they have to essentially, depending on when people pick, I'm assuming by now, by the way, right now,
yeah.
wrap at relatively the same time. Is there like the collective different productions out there people go, whether that's just your deal or everyone goes, we're blowing it out, and maybe we're going to drink a whole lot of beer because we've been immersed in wine for a while. What
Yeah.
goes on at the end of harvest? Is there something?
Yes, absolutely. And there are myriad things there. So one, it goes on during harvest, right?
Okay.
It's very traditional that, and this is true again, like, you're asking about different across the globe. One of the things that I love very dearly, like I said, taking a break. Um, it's a very long tradition to have harvest lunches
Okay.
where the winery or the vineyard or whatever provides lunches for all the workers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just about a perk. I mean, that is a nice thing, but it's like it's fundamental because you don't have time. I talked about the clothes where you don't have time to do your laundry, you
Sure.
don't have time to pack a lunch or
Yeah.
whatever. It's like I'll give you 15 hours a day, but can you just provide me with a lunch?
Mm-hmm.
And I like on the busiest of days to just go, stop.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to sit down
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to laugh a little bit and we're going to have
Mm-hmm.
some good food and we're going
Mm-hmm.
to take a break and get nourished and be all together. It's all that the cellar crew and together we're going to eat and break bread and have community. It's really a special part of the way that we do things. I think it spreads through. It sounds corny, but like to the wine, to the end product, that it's familial,
Sure.
meaning truly of the family, and
Yeah.
that's a really big thing. It's like you're in film production, you might have a craft service table,
Mm-hmm.
and when people can take a break, they go over and get some food and do that. No, this is very different, where we sit down and eat and break bread together, and from Del Dado, Chef Jake, he came in today, and he's been helping me out with some harvest lunches for the group. And he's got his own thing to do. He doesn't need to take care of us, but he totally
Yeah.
buys into this
Sure.
culture. And
Yeah.
it's like, hey man, what do you want? What can we do? Something fun or whatever. And so we're gonna do chicken and waffles, which is as our Southern thing that I introduced
Right.
everybody to.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we're going to do, like chicken and waffles for the crew. So
Yeah.
that's like on a daily basis. Then at the end of the day, also it's very much a tradition to, you've done all your work, you put everything away. And just like you said, you've been around wine all day,
Mm-hmm.
crack a beer. It's,
Mm-hmm.
it's it's not a full party, plus you're tired anyway, but just to sit down quietly with all the equipment off and just your group of your homies that you've been working with all day, and crack a beer and have a beer, that's a really, really nice thing. And it's a funny thing too, because it becomes a challenge, because you get it, who's going to provide the beer?
Yes.
And so every time you fuck up during the day, you forgot to do a pump over, or you didn't turn on the equipment right or whatever, dose, a 12
Yeah.
pack. So every
Uh-huh.
time you fuck up, it's like, Mike, that's a dose.
Ah,
You were
well
15
done.
minutes
That's
late. That's a
yeah.
dose. And
Yeah.
so you gotta get the next 12 pack and bring it into the
Yeah.
winery. So that's kind of fun. And then at the end of harvest,
Mm-hmm.
we absolutely, again, as a winery or as a crew, will have a harvest celebration and have a full meal. I like to with my cellar crew, just kind of the cellar crew, our individual guys, we quietly, and don't tell anyone, like in November when everything is put away, we clock in and then we head off to the bowling alley in the 10 o'clock in the morning and go bowling and drink beers and have trash, whatever. It's just us. It's not
Yeah.
families. It's just
Yes.
us. Like, hey, we did this. It's the middle of the morning. We're just gonna have our thing. So yeah, there's bigger celebrations and stuff, but it's not the same as being with your crew, the
Sure.
guys that you went into the foxhole with, right? That you went to battle with. Those are the best celebrations at the end of the day or at the end of harvest with your individual crew. Then when it comes to community, then for me it's Thanksgiving, right? You
Yeah.
know how I love Thanksgiving, so we do that. But the real emotional harvest level, sharing, camaraderie, that comes on the smaller level.
Wonderful. Cellar Crew is going to be the next thing that we talk about on our next episode. I'm going to dig into with your great knowledge of what that is, what the Cellar Crew is.
Okay. Well, maybe we should get, one of the guys,
Oh, yeah.
in. I mean, it's like there are, and a couple of different people that I've worked with for years and years and years that would be good to have on the podcast too. And also, if I can get the right guys, that I don't want people just to echo what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If I get the right guys, I want them to shoot down what I'm saying, to go, no, no, that's not true, Robbie.
Yeah.
I want them to like give an honest, genuine opinion. And the fact that, like, as so many of our guests have had so far, we've had more of the head chefs and the winemakers and the, whoever high level people, and they're great, but it's really not as interesting as who's really in the trenches, and people who have great backgrounds and amazing personal stories.
Yeah.
That is unexpected.
Sure.
I think I'm probably one of the most boring people in the wine
No,
industry.
that's not true at all. That's not true at all. I mean,
my story is kind of, I don't know what it is, but my only unique thing is that, I'm from Atlanta. Great. Yeah, whatever.
No, some of those war stories. I mean, that's great. Like, I love it. I love the knowledge of, like, I always have said this redundantly about you being, to me, when I see you, when I'm out there at the winery, when I'm in the fields with you, the few times that I've been, I mean, you don't give yourself credit here that you'll say things like, I'm going on about this, but your knowledge is so great, Robbie, that I've always said that, like, you're the professor that I would have wanted to have when you start explaining this stuff, and to you, because you just have this wealth of knowledge that it seems like it's boring to other people, that it's not. It's just this great information. So I like when there's so many questions to ask, that we couldn't cover it in not only 1 hour, but like 15 different episodes of that.
Well,
But,
hold on though. Like, it's like, by the way, I mean, I've been talking so much, I haven't even had my delicious Topo Chico. But we talk about getting our people who would just like, as friends of the podcast, to help us keep us doing what we're doing, whether it's Topo Chico or, like I said, maybe our wine industry friends can help us out, Wico, or whoever the case may be.
Hey, Wico, did you hear did you hear the plug that happened for you today? From crying out loud, that design of it.
Come on, throw down a few bucks. But then Mike Anderson, if you do like my professorial thing, it's always been my dream job to get a what do you call it? Is it a chair, or I forget how the word.
It was a chair.
In the agricultural department at the University of Georgia. Don't you think they need someone for the wine industry? Georgia has a strong wine industry. Don't you think that you need a graduate from the University of Georgia who's in the industry, 25 years experience, to go and do whatever you call it, a residency there at
That's it, a
Athens?
residency. How's that not already a deal? I mean,
I know.
That's a one.
Who do you know? Who's listening here
listen.
from University of Georgia?
That's one listen, is it not? It's like
you
got the great Robbie Meyer, that is the professor already of this. And what would that be? Of just enology, of whatever?
We could do wine education. It's another friend of the show, our dear friend Elizabeth Viana. She from UC Davis helped operate a class. I think it was down at UC Santa Cruz, and it was just like wine 101, like wine appreciation. It was a class.
Okay.
I could run that here from right here, back to Athens, Georgia.
I think that's already done. That's already.
Don't you think?
It's happening right now. UG, are you listening?
Yeah,
I think you are.
They better. All right, man. We've already gone over time. I apologize. Thanks for letting me run off at the mouth. See, this is therapy. This is harvest therapy to me. To get it out and remember that I'm still a human and not a robot. Just like working out there. So thank you for your time, Mike Anderson.
And thank you for all of this. We'll try to have this. Well, I don't know when this will post. If there's still power here in Atlanta, this will be a podcast that is on tomorrow, Friday, the 27th. And I'm going to say this because hopefully this will be able to be uploaded, because due to power on Friday the 27th, hopefully everyone out there is safe tonight and stay safe. Obviously through this hurricane, I hope everyone that listens to this is safe in any regards, aspects, or whatever. But obviously with this hurricane that's rolling through the South, the Florida and the Georgia, Alabama, the Carolinas, that everyone is safe. And man, thank you.
Shout out to your daughter over there in Savannah.
People in Savannah.
Shout out to my dad down in St. Simons.
St. Simons, everybody that's out there, stay safe. And man, I love you though, buddy.
Love you, bro. Let's knock it out.
Let's do that. You know what we do?
Hey, it's time to drop the check. I almost forgot our own not punchline, tagline.
Time to drop the check. Hey friends, thanks for joining us today on Drop the Check. I always love those lessons from Robbie Meyer, don't you? As always, Drop the Check is brought to you by Pearson Meyer Wines. Pearson Meyer, a really, really, really good wine. That's Pearson Meyer Wines at PeirSonmeyer.com. For all you people that have been or still in the path of Hurricane, now Tropical Storm Helene, we hope you're safe, and we hope everyone is okay, because we want you back here next week. Have a great day today. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here next week. For Robbie Meyer, I'm Mike Anderson. See you next time.